Today I'll be using a static grass applicator for the very first time. I'm gonna unbox and demonstrate how to use this, but just in case you're not familiar, a static grass applicator allows you to use static grass fibers to create a more realistic grass terrain using electricity. So this is a static grass applicator that my wife and kids got me for Father's Day. It is something that they got from Amazon, and it's by Jip, I think is how you pronounce it. Static grass applicator flocking tool. So we're just going to go ahead and open this up. I've already cut the tape on the box and take some of this stuff out. So the first thing is the applicator itself with, I guess, one of the tops to it. And then it looks like there's different sizes. So I assume like this allows you to have different level of flock that comes out or static grass that comes out. And it has some instructions, which I'm definitely going to look at to make sure I'm doing this right. And also, I think a power supply. So I guess this can either be used with batteries or with a power supply. It has a power supply port, but then there's also a battery pack in the back. I'll admit I'm not always the best about looking at instructions when I'm doing things like building furniture, but when it comes to safety tools, I think it's incredibly important. So after reading the directions, there's something that I definitely want to call out safety-wise with this. Apparently, this static grass applicator is capable of putting out 30,000 volts. So obviously there is a level of danger associated with using this. I think it's recommended for 14 and up as far as ages go. And for me, I'm just going to be really careful about how I'm using this and concentrate on what I'm doing when I'm using this tool, because I do not want to hurt myself. And also, just to let you know, the main thing that you don't want to do is touch the metal wiring or the metal sheet on the top after this has been on. I think it's supposed to sit turned off or unplugged for at least a minute before you take the cap off. So just make sure you read the directions if you're using this static grass applicator or any other one that you might have gotten. The first thing that I do is undo all the wiring so that I can get this thing ready to plug into, I think it's the DC port on the inside, because I won't be using a battery for this. And then I go ahead and just plug it into one of my workshop outlets. Then it's time to prep the applicator with the static grass. So I just take some clumps of this and I fill it up. I think it tells you to fill this at least halfway up, but I was just testing it, so I didn't do that. And for today's video, this is the little terrain base that we're going to be testing this on. In order for the static grass applicator to work, we have to prep the piece, and I'm going to do that with tacky glue. The piece that I'm using as my test piece is textured with actual dirt and some flock already, so I'm just going to use a paintbrush to kind of stamp this into those little crevices. In order for the static grass applicator to work, we have to conduct the electricity into the terrain piece. So in order to do that, I need something that is metal. These sewing needles that I got at Hobby Lobby should do the trick. All I have to do is simply insert the needle into the XPS foam base, and then I just connect the grounding mechanism to that needle, and then I'll have my electric conduit that I need. And here goes nothing. Now it's time to shake the applicator over top of those glued areas. And what's happening here is the applicator, while I'm pressing the button, is sending the static electricity, which is causing the static grass to actually stand up the way that we want. And because we put the glue down, it should stay in place once that glue has dried. I'm just going to speed this up. I wanted to be thorough, so I just made sure to do several passes over top of this. As I told you at the beginning of the video, I've never done this before, but the videos that I've watched have always indicated that you want to mix up your colors and the size of the static grass that you apply to your base. So I attempted to add in a darker shade of green in terms of static grass here, although I don't think I did this exactly right. I think what you want to do is kind of spritz this with a Mod Podge water solution before trying that. Here's my final test piece. I'm definitely excited about how this turned out and feel like I do have a lot to learn, but I'm excited to have this tool. Thank you all for joining me as I unboxed and tested out this static grass applicator for the very first time. I hope that the video helps you decide if this is something that you want to try out and make sure that this is something that you can do safely. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. I hope that you'll subscribe and watch more of our videos, and I can't wait to see you in the next episode.
Vascotoys, action figure dioramas and props.